Hey folks, it's Nate. It's time I got back to the drawing board. You know, one of the most enduring stories you can tell to young people is the bully. And that's because this is especially true, by the way, of young men. This is true largely because um, standing up to a bully is both easy and hard. That's because standing up to a bully, all it really takes most of the time is a little backbone. That's what makes it easy. Anyone can do it. Most people have the tool set necessary to stand up to a bully. It's hard because it's scary. Um, you don't know how people are going to react. You're not sure you've always read the situation correctly. Um, the bully might be well connected. They might have friends with them. They might be bigger, more physically powerful than you are. There are a lot of reasons standing up to a bully is hard, and so it's a very broadly appealing story because anyone can do it. Really, anyone can. Look at all the stories about standing up to bullies out there. It's quite amazing, really. Um, Everything from fantasy stories like Harry Potter have bullies in them to the really early works of fiction like the British novels about boys at boarding school had bullies in them. It's a recurring archetype, and it's popular. Probably in large part because most kids have to face bullies. At least a little bit. And so, in addition to presenting a challenge that can be overcome and be overcome by anyone, but still requires a great deal of effort, it's also a challenge that most people have faced or will face at some point in their lives. Um, so, the bully is a great story to tell, and it has a special appeal, I think, to young men, simply because, well, for starters, young men have a greater instinct to protection, especially of people who they don't know very well, but they have reasons of principle to stand with. And partly because, people who stand up to bullies, they tend to get a lot of attention. Not always good attention, but attention. And regardless of what you hear in the feminist media, young boys, well, they tend not to get a lot of attention unless they are really standing out at something. And the fact is, the vast majority of boys don't stand out at something. A lot of men don't find the skills that make them special until much later in life. Usually, their early to mid 20s, if then. Of course, some never find it at all. And so, a story about standing up to bullies, in addition to presenting a, a recognizable challenge, one that they have faced or probably will face, and one that they can overcome but is still difficult in its own ways. Um, the story of the bull standing up to a bully gives them an easy way to find recognition, which is something I think everyone desires. Um, and at the end of the day, it's very easy to tell, the story of standing up to a bully. You take a group of people, and then you make another group of people, and each of these groups could be as few as one person. So it could be about individuals, and it could be about a circle of friends, a class, a town, even in some cases, a whole nation. So you take one group of people and another much, much more powerful group of people, or at least a seemingly more powerful group of people, and you pit them against each other. And you have at least one person on the weak side put their foot down for maybe a moral reason, or maybe just because, they don't really like the way those other people are acting. And so they step in to take a hand. And the bully weakens and he backs down. Or maybe there's a fight. Or, maybe the bully calls in his advantages, his connections, his friends, and the confrontation goes down. But the weaker side refuses to back down. And in that moment, in that tension, in that conflict, there is great catharsis, because just the action of standing up to the bully creates a release for the conflicts that all these young people have had in their lives, especially the ones who haven't stood up to the real bullies they faced. They see that moment and they see that confrontation. They say, yeah, I wish I could do that. They want to be like that character. And a lot of the times, the characters who do that are the ones we remember and we want to be like, even if they're not presented very well. I'll never forget a book I read probably when I was 9 or 10. It was called The Revenge of the Incredible Dr. Rancid and His Youthful Assistant, Jeffrey. It was a terrible book, trust me. But it had a confrontation with a bully. It was a pretty decent confrontation with a bully. And in that confrontation, the boy who confronted the bully, he got in a fight. He didn't win the fight. He even hurt the bully very much. And he got in trouble at school. And it looked like a lose-lose. Losses all around. But he maintained his self-respect, and he earned some respect from others, including the kid who was bullying him. And I have not forgotten, obviously, that story. As bad as it was, as generic as the characters were and the situation was, it stuck with me. So we love to tell stories about people who see other people in trouble and they step in to help. And they think, man, standing up to a bully, what a great story. And we tell it over and over again. But it's important when you tell a story not to accidentally tell a different story. What do I mean by that? Well, let's continue with this very, very important story of standing up to bullies. See, bullies, we don't always see them coming. Sometimes you're standing up on behalf of someone else. Sometimes you make a very clear, conscious decision to do something, and you intercede in a situation on behalf of someone else, and that's standing up to a bully. But sometimes you're just doing something that you had perfectly good reasons to do. You're perfectly justified in doing. Sometimes, you're just going about your business, and someone shows up, and they try to get you to back off, to quit it. They don't like it. Knock it off. And you just say, no, I'm not going to stop doing that. I'm perfectly within my rights. I'm doing something that doesn't hurt anyone, that is totally appropriate to the situation I'm in. I'm not going to stop. And so that person, you stand up to that one person, and then some other people come up and they say, no, you should listen to this guy. You need to stop what you're doing. You're wrong for doing that. And you continue to say, no, I didn't do anything wrong. This is fine. More people come up and more people come up, and, pretty soon you're surrounded. You have big people, important people, people who have lived longer, who know more influential people than you, all yelling at you. But you're not going to bend a knee. You're not going to let them put their foot on your neck. So you keep standing up to these people. It seems like no one or very few people are on your side. And eventually people look at that and like, oh wow, look at all of these people trying to bully this handful of people into doing what they want. And you know, when we tell stories about bullies, we often act as if they are the first story, the guy who rushes to intervene. The hero is frequently the person who rushes to intervene. But the truth is, some people choose greatness. Some people are born to greatness. But most great people, they have it thrust upon them. When we write a story about, rushing to intervene in a bullying situation, well, most people have faced bullies. They don't like them very much. It's very easy to make a caricature out of that bully, to line everybody up against him, to make him look small, kind of meek, to stack all the odds against him, to demand that he go along with what everyone else knows is right. When you do that, you're not telling a story about a bully anymore, or you are. But the bully is not the person you're trying to set it up as. Your bully is someone else entirely. Your bully is your protagonist, and it's surprisingly easy to slip into this place. I've done it. There are plenty of examples of stories where this happens. You can go to your boy Zach's channel, and he practically has an encyclopedia of them there, it seems like. So how do you prevent it? Well, the first and simplest thing to do is to remember that bullies they're people. They're not characters. Most bullies have been bullied or are being bullied. It's one of the great tragedies of abuse that it tends to be handed down from one to the next. And it takes a great deal of moral fortitude, a great deal of help to break that cycle. And sometimes an exploration of why the bully is the way he is solidifies him as a villain. There's a lot of sympathetic villains out there today. You show everything that happened wrong to them that led up to that point. And, that can be a bit of a trope. It can get a bit tiresome. But it can also, deepen the sense of evil around that villain. If you want to see that done really effectively, look no farther than M. Night Shyamalan's Split. Ooh. There was a villain with a reason behind why he was so evil, but who was still very evil. Not sympathetic, or at least very, very hard to sympathize with. You could understand, why he was evil. You didn't, for one moment, think he was justified in his evil. So that can help. But sometimes, sometimes bullies are just driven by the will to power. Sometimes you just have to accept that they are the way they are. And then, another option is to look at the person standing up to them and show the ways they struggle with taking unethical actions to oppose a bully. It's good to oppose a bully. It's not good to just walk up to him and hit him over the back of the head. He's not paying attention. I mean, to be perfectly frank, that's the way a lot of police and military actions take place. But that's not a good way to confront a bully. A bully is a person in the same culture, the same environment you are, and there are you're on the same level of moral authority there, and you have to be very careful there. You cannot presume to be judge, jury, and executioner. There are a lot of people who would like to, but by showing the depth of your hero as he stands up to a bully, you can make it clear that anyone could be a bully, but good people find the strength and the support and the courage not to be. And the third thing you can do is you can just focus on the response to bullying. And I don't just mean the hero who stands up to it. The suffering of bullying is many faceted, and it affects people profoundly, not just in negative ways. Like most kids, I suffered something that you could consider bullying. When I was younger, I was actually quite vindictive. And, I took teasing just as an invitation to fight. I didn't believe there was any reason to, call people names or put people down other than to invite a physical confrontation. And so that's how I behaved for several years of my life. When I was teased, I didn't try and grow a thick skin. I said, okay, you want to fight? And I hit him. Because, I strongly believe in getting the first punch in, or at least I did at the time. And that was dumb. It was stupid. It was immature. But by acting on those impulses, I got in trouble, and I grew as a human being, and that was important. So by showing those the human aspects like that, the growth that can put in people. There are people who are bullied and who respond by becoming very creative or very empathetic. And those are good human elements that you can add to your story as well. So by focusing on the outcome of bullying, you can show, when you show good come from evil, it contrasts with the evil and helps keep it in perspective. And of course, sometimes you've just mismanaged your story to such an extent that you really can't make it. You may have to go over and start from scratch. You may have to say, we just got to put this down because it wasn't what I thought it was. I have to rethink it. And that requires some maturity, requires some depth of insight as a storyteller to do that. And, not every story is what you thought it was at the beginning. And if you can see that, if you can move on, not necessarily abandon it, you may need to rework it some. It may not be the right time for you to try and rework it either, when you first realize you have the wrong approach to a story. You may have to set it aside for a while. But it is a good thing to recognize that the story you have is not what you thought it was and try and fix it. If you can't bring yourself to do that, you're going to set out a story that does not do what you set out to do, and you're going to look incompetent. And in the case of our narrative about bullies, you may even look a bit cruel or out of touch, and that can cost you credibility. Writers, they develop reputations. They develop them very quickly, and as you try and confront that reputation after making a big mistake, well, it can be hard to make a comeback. You could be saddled with that for, the rest of your career. So be careful. Be open to the idea that you have stories by the wrong leg. And, if you come across one of these stories that someone else has written, yeah, try and be understanding, but don't take it too seriously. Sometimes when a bully thinks they're a hero and they come to put their foot on your neck, all you can really do is refuse to move. Give them a little smirk. Let them know you see where they're coming from, and don't back down. Anyway, that's all I have to say tonight. Hope you enjoyed the video. There's a like button and a subscribe button down there below. Use them as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.